Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. My name is Lucy and today I obviously created this beautiful sunset eyeshadow look using the brand new JACLYN Hill and MORPHE collaboration palette. This is the Volume 2 palette, and if you want to see how I got on with this palette and how I created this look, then please do keep watching. So I'm sure you can see by the title and the thumbnail of the video, today I have a really super exciting palette to play around with. It's the JACLYN Hill Volume 2 palette in collaboration with MORPHE. If you've never seen the Volume 1 palette of the JACLYN Hill MORPHE collab, then you must have been living under a rock, because this palette was so talked about when it first came out. I think it was maybe a year or two ago, probably more likely to 2 or 3 actually, but still, this palette was iconic back when it first came out, and now they've got a second one, and I'm just going to compare the two before I get started. So this one here is the first JACLYN Hill palette. This one is more of a neutral sort of toned palette. It's got a lot of warm and a lot of cool shades in it. It's just quite a very versatile palette. I have had so much use out of this palette over the years. As you can see, it's pretty much beaten up at this point, but yeah, this is such a staple palette. It's got a good mixture of shimmers, of mattes in it. However, the one thing I will say that's different to the new palette, obviously besides the color scheme, is that this one doesn't have names of the shadows inside the palette. Instead, it's actually got the shades written on the back, which I do find is a little bit inconvenient, because when you're dipping into the shade, you don't want to have to check the back to see what shade it is. But to be honest, it's not really much of a problem until you're doing like a tutorial or something where you need to know the shade name. But yeah, this one is their first palette. I absolutely love this palette. And this one is the second palette. So obviously the packaging has changed a little bit. This one has got like her signature on the front, whereas this one's just got very basic standard writing on the front. I do think it does look a little bit plain, to be honest with you. I think that they could have done a lot more with the front of this palette. It does look very sort of simple. And inside, this is the JACLYN Hill Volume 2 palette. So you can see that there is a couple of shades that are a little bit similar. I will do a side-by-side comparison in a second, but this palette is definitely more colourful than the first one. It's got a lot more range of pinks, reds, purples, couple of yellowy colors, but you can also create a really nice neutral look with it as well, because it does have the brownie sort of shades up the top as well. As I was saying, obviously you can see that the shades are written on the palette, which is so much more convenient, so that I can tell you exactly which shade I'm dipping into rather than just pointing to it. And here is a side-by-side comparison. This is really hard to hold up and show you, but you can kind of see the thing. So this is the first palette and this is the second one down at the bottom. They've got a couple of sort of similar red toned shades, but other than that, they're quite different palettes, which I do like, because obviously you don't really want a collab palette to be the same the second time around. Anyway, enough talking about it. I'm literally so excited to try this palette, so I'm going to start with my eyebrows and get right into it. So like I said in my previous video, I've actually not really been filling in my brows much at the minute. All I really do with them is sort of brush them up with some brow gel, or at the minute I've actually been doing soap brows, and then I just carve underneath them and I'm good to go. I just think that brows is something that's sort of slowly decreasing in the makeup world. No one's really giving as much of a care about eyebrows anymore. So I'm just taking my soap, I'm going to spray it with the Dewy Set by Anastasia Beverly Hills, but again, any setting spray will work. I think water would even work as well, but I just prefer to use this because obviously I can carry it around and move it with me. And then I'm just taking a spoolie brush. This is just on the back of a Morphe eyebrow brush, and I'm going to use that and start to brush it through my brows. So doing this technique does take a couple of minutes for the product to start, well, I say product, it's not really a product, but the soap to start getting a little bit sort of tacky, and you can start feeling it thicken up, but you've just got to keep brushing it through until you get to that point, and then when it starts to feel a little bit thicker, then you know it's working and it's really sticking them into place. Now I'm just going to go in with my eye primer. So today I'm taking the Anastasia Beverly Hills eye primer, and I'm going to take the Morphe M224 brush and carve underneath my brows, and then just set my lids into place so we can start with the eyeshadow. Okay, so I'm just zooming you in because obviously now I'm going to be focusing on my eyes. So I think I'm going to start with the shade Crazy, which is the second to darkest shade down in the corner here, next to the shade Black. No, next to the black shade. I know I normally don't have a clue what I'm going to do with my eyeshadow when I start these videos, but today I actually do have an idea, so I know, round of applause to me. It's been a really long time since I've done a double cut cut crease. So I think I'm going to do a double cut crease today, which means that I can obviously play with the mattes and the shimmers in the palette. So I'm going to go ahead on a Unicorn Cosmetics little eyeshadow brush and take the shade Crazy and start to pack that through my crease. Now I've got that shade down, I'm going to go in with the shade Dance Party, which is just above the black shade, and I'm taking that on a JH39 brush and just sort of concentrating that on the outer corners of that shade I've already put down. I don't really want this one to be taken out too far. It's sort of going to be used as a transition shade. Now I'm going to go in with the shade My Man, which is one of these bright orange shades right in the middle of the palette, and I'm just going to take that on top of the pink. You kind of know what I'm doing at this point. I don't need to keep telling you where it's going. I'm just working the shades up towards my eyebrow. And then right at the top, I'm going to take the yellow shade, which is the shade No Joke. I'm very, very fussy about my yellows, so we'll definitely see if this is going to live up to my standard. Okay, when you get to this stage, I'm just going to go back through and use every single colour that I've already used and just sort of build them up and make sure that they're all blending seamlessly into one another. So I'm not going to film that part, but I will be back after that's done to cut the crease. Okay, so far so good. The shadows are very, very pigmented. They're blending out really, really nicely together. The yellow is actually a really nice yellow. You'd be happy to know I do approve of the yellow. If you've ever watched my channel before, then you would know that every time I cut my crease, I always start by removing the product underneath first using a Q-tip and makeup remover. So that's exactly what I'm going to go in and do. I just find that by doing this, it just makes it so much easier to cut the crease. You're not going to start caking product on top of product on top of product. Okay, so that's as far as I'm going to take it for now, because I think that when it comes to doing the makeup remover part of the cut crease, you don't want to take it too high, because obviously if it does go too high, you can't add product back on top of it. So I'd rather just take less than I need for now. Now I'm just going in with the Plouise and Mitchell Acid Rain Eye Paint in the shade Blank Canvas. If you've never tried these bases or any of the Plouise bases, I 100% recommend using this for cutting the crease. It is literally the best product I've ever used for cutting the crease, because it sets in place and it's just so easy to use. So with that, I'm going to take the same Morphe brush that I did use to underline my eyebrows, which is the M224 brush, and I'm just going to take that from the back of my hand and start to basically use that line as the map to where my cut crease is going to go. Okay, so there is the shape of my cut crease. Now, just along the top of that cut crease, I'm just going to take the white shade out of the palette named Certified and just pack that along the top to set that in place. Okay, so now onto the double cut crease part of this look. I'm just going to take a really tiny detailed brush. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills number 3 brush. I'm going to start by dipping into the shade Good Place, which is this dark purple shimmer shade at the bottom. You can't really tell on camera, but it is a shimmer shade. And I'm just going to take that on the brush and take that on the outer and inner corners of my eye. To be honest with you, even though that is supposed to be a shimmer shade, it's definitely not really come off that shimmery on my eye. I don't really know if it's just like the way that I'm using it, but it looks like a matte. Now I'm going to go in with the shade Empowered, which is more of a red toned sort of pink shimmer, and I'm just going to do the same thing, but obviously working inwards towards my eye. So I'm just going to take that next to the purple. And then right down the center of that double cut crease, I'm gonna go in with the shade Taylor, which is this gorgeous, I can only really describe it as like a metallic yellow. It almost reminds me of like a coin. I feel like if I was to name that shade, I would probably name it Coin. I don't know where I'm getting that from, but it's just coming to me. To be honest with you, I was contemplating doing a full face look and like finishing up the rest of my face and everything, but I've done that for the last couple of days and I feel like I just want to give my skin a break today, so I think I'm just going to leave it as eyes. So I am just going to go under my eye with a little bit of concealer so that obviously the under eyeshadow has something to stick to. And for today I'm going to take the Huda Beauty Overachiever Concealer in the shade Marshmallow. I've been using this concealer for the last couple of days and I actually do really like it. It is a lot more of a full coverage concealer, but I do really like it and I like the consistency of it as well. For my under eyes, I'm just going to start by taking the Dark Side Waterproof Gel Liner by Anastasia Beverly Hills and running that on my waterline and also my tight line up at the top as well. Now I'm going to go back into the palette and starting with the same Crazy shade which I used up at my top. I'm going to start by running that under my waterline. Then I'm going to go back in with the orange shade which was My Man and just run that underneath. And then finishing up under there with the shade No Joke, which is the yellow shade. And to finish up this eye look, I'm just going to go in with a pair of the Bold Face Beauty lashes. This is the style Mega Babe. Just to pop on a little bit of highlighter so that it pops when I take my pictures. I'm actually going to use some shades from the palette. So I saw in the campaign photo for this palette that JACLYN was using the shade I'm In It from the palette, which is like a white tone shimmery eyeshadow with pink reflections in it. And it looked really pretty, so I think I'm going to use a little bit of that for my highlighters today. I know that this looks a little bit unfinished, only having my eyes done, but to be honest with you, I just can't be bothered to do the rest of my face, and the focus of this video obviously is the eyeshadow palette, so we're just gonna call it a day and leave that there. Okay you guys, so this is my finished eye look using the brand new Morphe and JACLYN Hill Volume 2 palette. My final thoughts on this palette is that I absolutely love it. It's definitely a bit of me. All of these colours literally scream me, because if you know me, I absolutely love doing like sunset colours such as the ones that I've got on my eyes today. So this is definitely a palette that appeals to me. The matte shadows blended beautifully. They've obviously got a lot of pigmentation in them, as you can probably tell from the camera, and they just worked really nicely together. The shimmer shades are really pretty as well. I would say that the purple one, what was the name of that shade? Good Place. It didn't really come off as shimmery as I thought it would, and to be honest with you, in my personal opinion anyway, other than doing a look like this, I probably wouldn't find a use for a dark purple shimmer shade, but that's just obviously my personal opinion. I do feel like it could have been a little bit more shimmery because it definitely does look quite matte, but other than that, the yellow shade and the pink shimmer shades that I've got on my eye, they both look really nice on the eye. So yeah, all in all, I can't really fault this palette. I think it's absolutely beautiful and I knew they would smash it. I was not expecting them to come out with a second palette. It kind of came out of nowhere, but I'm really glad they did, because this is going to be a staple for my sunset coloured eye looks from now on. I really hope you guys did enjoy watching, and if you did, then please make sure to leave a thumbs up, leave me a comment down in the comment section, and also subscribe to my channel if you have not already. You can also find me on TikTok, Instagram and Twitter, and I will leave all of my handles for those in the description box below. I'm going to leave this video here for now, but thank you so much again for watching, and I hope to catch you in my next one. Bye!